Please. Okay, I accept. Yeah, I accept. Oh my god. Yeah, Japanese? No, Japanese. What is this? Yeah, I don't give a fuck about that. Oh my. Sound. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Jesus. Change voices to English, by the way. It's Japanese default. Okay, I got you. Okay, so we have to do a couple things here. First thing we have to do is my whole resolution changed. We gotta change this to Sekiro. Then we have to. Oh my. We have to change the graphics. Oh, I have to go back. Okay, I guess we're going like this. Why the frick are you on that? No, go here. What the frick? Don't even have that big of a monitor. Alright, then we have to do advanced settings. Turn off this sheet. Turn off. I guess everything else. I don't know if I can even handle this game on high. Mine's doing the sound check of Blades to Shogun. I have never heard of that game in my freaking life. Okay, we're not using controller. Fuck controller. HDR off. Alright, now it shouldn't be black and white. So for the voice settings, I think it's in the main menu. Okay. Right. Oh yeah, text. I guess put that in English too, right? All right. Oh, okay. All right. So okay, now we're gonna sit here for a little bit and try to figure this shit out. Can you guys hear that? Well, good. Okay. Put it all on 3. Everything. It's not loud for you, but holy shit, is that loud for me? God, it's stuck into my mouth. Does that sound good for you guys? I feel like it's too okay, you know what? Why don't we just change it in the game? I really hope I can play this game with the I hope I can play this game with the mouse and keyboards. Oh, you get to just do all this stuff before you go. Oh, that's cool. With the tone combo, yeah. Oh, alright. I need to change my game. Do we get a class cutscene? Oh shit, we do.
In the closing years of the Sengoku era,
Yes,
Japan was consumed by perpetual conflict.
Art looks good.
The fires of war raged on, spreading deep into the mountains.
Oh, I'm sick already.
To the land of Ashina.
60 yards. That's what it's
Is the war finally
This cutscene is
over?
pretty good loud, by the way. Should I turn it? Yeah, I'll turn it on a little bit. I turned it on halfway. Ow. Oh, he did. He not dead. Ooh. Oh, all right.
swordsman Ishin Ashina staged a bloody coup and wrested control of the land.
Okay. Oh, shit, I forgot about the FPS.
What's the matter, Stray? Nothing left to lose?
Damn, there's some good voices.
Well, would you look at that? Fascinating.
This game looks
Will
sick.
you join me, starving wolf?
On that day,
What a way to
a
freaking
young
start.
cub was taken from the battlefield.
Oh, shit.
Trained
Okay, we
with
gotta figure out where I'm
instinct
gonna put my camera.
and
I have
indeed
so much shit to do now.
Went on to become a master shinobi.
What the frick is shinobi? Is that like
you
a
must never forget the shinobi
ninja? Whatever,
code.
samurai?
As your father, my word is absolute. Your master's is a close second.
Okay, so this
As
guy's
of
the freaking
today,
main homie?
He is your master.
Nice.
Defend him with your life. If he is taken,
Shinobi is ninja?
bring him back at any cost. You understand me, don't you, Wolf?
Wise, have you played Elden Ring? Have I asked you that? That was a sick ass intro. Not yet.
Some 20 years after Ishin's coup, the Ashina clan was on the brink of collapse.
I'm so used to Elden Ring now. I had to completely just like
And the
put
shinobi
all that aside.
had lost everything.
No money saw.
Both the man who took him in and the boy he had sworn to protect.
Are you doing anything for work or anything like that? If you don't mind me asking. God damn, this game looks good.
Shinobi, open your eyes. For the sake
I'm a
of your
translator.
master.
Ooh. For what languages? Register, I did my first ink. It was expensive. Oh, shit. Hear me out. Hear me out. You're talking about taxi, right? Just want to confirm. Just gotta confirm. Sorry, it's gotta be sure. It's no slang for the. Alrighty. Oh my god, spaces jump. Can you guys believe it? Okay. I like the feel of this so far. This is nice. Oh, sorry. I feel like the video is so much more delayed than what I'm seeing. Oh boy. You gotta change game to Sekiro. Oh, shit. Thank you. Oh, hey, Chase. How's it going? So, a little backstory. I wasn't planning on streaming this game today, but Bone Labs got me fucked up, and I felt like I was about to be sick, so I was like, okay, let's not do that. Thanks, sir. I got my first thing here. That's better. that can still correspond to drugs. Should we activate keyboard input to display? Oh, it's actual. Oh, cool. Oh, English. Okay. So escape. Oh, okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. It's better than Bone Labs? Well, I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, in its own way. Okay, I don't give a shit about this right now. I'm focused on doing one thing at a time, right? Boom. Easy fucking money. No, no. Oh, easy. Easy money. Alright. I used some ink recently. Gonna do some more. There you go. Is there a death counter? Ooh. Do we start one for the start of the game? This would be the time to do it. This is the time. I'm gonna teach you now. But if we can start one, it would go forward. Okay, we're talking about the whole game here. Well, if we're gonna go 2 gameplays, then frickin' yeah. Anyways, Chief, gotta go. Pretty late here in Brazil, Southlands. Wait, you live in Brazil? Holy shit! All right, man. Well, it was freaking a pleasure talking to you, my guy. Hopefully you come by again. My schedule is Monday to Friday, or Monday and Friday, not Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Yeah, Monday and Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. PST. So, yes. Kill counter. Sorry, it's escape from the well and find the Lord. Even without a blade, you can reach a stay silent division. Freaking say less. All right. All right. I'm not Motherfucker from Brazil. Yeah, my dude. See you on Friday. Hell yeah, homie. I don't think you ever told me that you're from Brazil. I mean, then again, it's been freaking 2 years since I've seen you, so. Okay. Is this game made from the same people as Dark Souls and Elden Ring or everything above? Or no? Also, I'm pretty sure I just deleted my little death counter thing I had. I know we're eager to play here, but you guys really want a death counter, or I'm gonna freaking have to shit. Give me 1 second. Frick, Chase, what was that freaking thing you sent me? Did you send me something about that? I had a really easy one that involved a shortcut. Oh, never mind, I found it. It's called Death Counter and Soundboard. There we go. Death Counter and Soundboard for streamers. Yeah, there it is. Give me a sheet. I don't need no freaking tutorial. Give me this one check. Where's the freaking download? Integrate with OBS. Oh, obviously it has to be. Duh, it has to be. Where the frick's the download button? Oh, here it is. Alright, here we go. Frick, I'm running that sheet through that. Frick that sheet. Okay, never mind. Okay, frick it. Just install a speech. Give me in this mode checker. Put me in, Chief. Frick, open up beach. Oh, yeah, here we go. Alright. Counters. Add. Name. Frickin' death. File. Let's put it under Twitch stuff. Stuff I stuff I use now. New folder. Death counter. I'm pretty sure I spelled counter wrong. I'm gonna go frick. New text file. Death. Boom. Alright. Increments in 1, yes sir. Alright, that was freaking easy. Settings. Okay, we gotta find a nice hotkey to put this sheet on. Okay, right now I have it as plus. Okay, it works. Does it work globally though? Yeah, I guess it does. Alright, so it's pretty easy to press. I just go, boop, boop. Okay, got it. Easy money. Alright, now all we have to do is go here. Click this button right here. Click text. Click death. Click read from file. Browse. Then we're gonna go over here. Click this button right here. Click this button right here. Put death right here. Put that shit as motherfucking 0. Now if I freaking press this button right here, it should go up to 1. Fucking money. Alright. What do you think the best spot for my camera would be? Should we leave it where it's at? Because we have the health bar and sheet. Should we put it on top in the middle? Also, I need to. Wait, I can't make. Does it work like that? Well, how do you make it so it's automatically in there? Make it just smaller. Oh yeah. Where do you frick we're gonna have it though? Are you really gonna have me no. Death. Play a bit. Yeah. Sorry. Almost done. I'm trying to pick a cool font. Font. Freaking. Let's go. Freaking. Corbel. Sure. Bold. We're not going that. Never mind. We're going this right here. We're not doing that either. Why the frick is this so blurry? What the frick did I do wrong? What happened to it? Where'd it go? Why the frick is it so? Why is it so frickin' blurry? Is it because it's using bold? Why is it so blurry? What the frick? Hello? Fuck it, we're having a boring ass frickin' aerial in this speech. Shit. Fuck it, do I even need to have the word deaths on there? You guys will just know, right? Should I just have the frickin' number? Let's just have the frickin' number. What do you guys think? It's not even that. I already got the death counter. I can't even figure out how to add the motherfucking text. If I put this number on the frickin' bottom right of my screen, or bottom left, where the frick I'm gonna put it, you guys will know this is deaths, right? Do I really need to have the word death? And if someone asks, like, oh, hey, what's that mean? I'll be like, oh, that's how many times I've freaking died. That sucks. I'm like, oh, okay. Just put it next to your cam. Oh, we still gotta figure out where the fuck that's going. Okay, now the real question is it gonna work while I'm in the game? Oh, it does. Okay, it just takes a very long time. Alright, cool. Your camera's fine how it is actually. I do it. Oh. Okay. Interior bar gets bigger. Alright, bet. Alright, so okay, so is there shifting in this game? Oh, okay, we already gotta walk. Alright. Alright. Hey, what's up, Druid? Okay, we're already have parkouring sheet. I love it. Wait, do I have to press that again? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Damn, this game looks good. Okay. Okay. Advanced stopping simmer crouching in bushes or moving into forests. Do not have a stealth helmet. Use stealth to avoid enemies and head to the moon view tower. You'll be able to see. Okay, so it's pretty much exactly like what's it called?
At the bottom of the well. We didn't shackle him.
How the frick do you crouch? How do you go? Oh, it's Q. Q is the. I didn't look at the screen. I learned something funny. Stupid freaking death counters in the way. I can't see my freaking chat. Get out of the way. There we go. I learned something funny today. The first FromSoft game I ever played was apparently not Dark Souls 1. It was this. What is it? The Adventures of Cookies? What the fuck is that? God, now I'm used to pressing freaking space to run. Okay, we got a lot of things to change. Why the fuck is Q the default freaking crouch? Change control now if you can. I have my targeting on tab. Okay, yeah, I agree, because Jesus fuck. Alright, let's see here. So, okay, that's good, that's good. Okay, so sprint is shift. Okay, jump, crouch. Okay, we're definitely changing that. Okay, I guess I mean, should we try? I feel like okay, what is this? Cycle quick items, forward and reverse. Okay, is there anything on control? Use prosthetic tool. Fuck is that? Fuck it, we can change that to freaking Q. And you said you're targeting? Oh, I was going to say, my attack is unbound. Grappling hook is F. Okay, action is E. Use item is R. Okay, so R is pretty easy because I remember that from what's it called. Okay, so eavesdrop / touch. Fuck that means. Stop recording. Okay. It was a co-op only game they made where two bunnies on different paths help each other to get through areas in the timer. Oh, it's kind of like that one game. Fuck if I know the name. I never played any co-op though. When was it released? Okay, so is this just it's just middle mouse, okay. We can see here, let's check. What would I like better? I feel like I'm on like tab better. Let's try tab. Yeah. 2000s ish? Oh, that's not too bad. Tab is the only thing I changed, I think. Okay, so all we do is change the freaking prosthetic tool, which is fuck fun with that is already. And then the crouch. And then the lock on. That's pretty much it. That ancient alien PS2 tech. Yeah, there's some freaking good ass games on PS2, dude. Freaking fuck, what was that game called? Crash Bandicoot? That was my shit. Wolf can slip into tight spaces such as beneath floors when crouched. Wolf can. Oh, I'm Wolf. I was like, who the fuck is Wolf? Oh.
The moonlight shines strongly on the Moonview Tower.
It's actually
The diviner is probably using the light for his reading again.
to be used a lot later depending on how you play. But just wait for now until it, I guess.
I feel sorry for the boy.
Tristan Star Wars Batman. Or OVA.
Lord Genichiro has his reasons.
Okay. I feel like V is a good key for that. I definitely feel like I need to change one more thing though. Sorry, I keep changing sheet. Would it be this? Yes, it would. This is camera speed, right? Obviously it is. It's not camera speed. Is that camera speed? Oh. It's this. Okay, one more thing. I'm sorry. Sorry, I keep changing sheet. We're playing this game for the first time. We want to make sure we're freaking Gucci here. Where the fuck is the FOV at? Oh, fucking shot. There's no. Should I keep that online? Forget skip on. Where the fuck is the There's no FOV changing? That's okay.
The Moonview Tower door. You check that it's locked, right? It's certainly locked, but nobody fixed that hole in the wall. That? Don't worry about it. The hole faces the edge of a cliff. No one could pass through it.
Oh, really? Wait, is that a check mark to let me know that I've already heard that? That's freaking sick. You can be pretty much sneaky in this game. I don't have to be stealthy, I think, and take your time with stuff. Yeah. I mean, so far, it's just freaking sick. Where exactly does this human go up here? I think I found it. Okay, I'm just exploring. If I die, I freaking die. Forget. Cannot you drop that? I cannot. You cannot. Do they get interested in coming over here after a certain amount of time? No. Already lost? No, we're freaking Gucci, my guy. It's all good, man. Yeah, maybe it's not. Can I just freaking wait? Can you vault see already? I wasn't aware I can do that. I thought I would just, maybe like go a tiny bit, not just like full on yeet. Freaking fantastic. Maybe we go 5 digits. Freaking shit. Like, take me a second, alright? I'm used to freaking Elden Ring physics. Yeah, I want to know about that freaking shop thing now. Does this one get me checked? Oh, dude, that's freaking sick. That has to do with me listening to that, right? Because I've already listened to it. That's freaking sick. I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't see this. I'm not gonna lie with you. I wasn't even paying attention this way. I saw a little pocket in the thing and I was like, oh, we're good. Okay. It's interesting how I have to press E to go back up instead of just pressing freaking W. This is sneaky pads. Yeah, I gotta take my time and really look at sheet. How's the audio, by the way? The combat seemed pretty freaking loud. So is this. Maybe I need to turn the
Well to come here.
turn the voices down one.
It's been too long, Wolf.
I've come to free you, my lord.
Well then,
I got you at max though. Okay.
raise your head. Kusabimaru, your sword.
Oh, we killing Machakas already.
My shinobi.
I think I need to move my.
In accordance with the bond of lord and retainer, you will pledge your life in my service.
I think I'm gonna move my camera to the right so I'm not blocking subtitles. Until we figure out that there's stuff on the right. Unless you guys don't care about looking at subtitles. I Katana give my Kuro the divine hair, an heirloom of the blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna pronounce half the sheet. Once the lost is found its way back to the lands. Okay. Thanks. Okay, so escape is for pretty much everything. Okay. Okay. I think I need to turn down this possibly just freaking one. I also have my sheet down a lot too. Okay, let me turn all this sheet down by one. See if it still sounds good.
Loyal Wolf, I see you are wounded. I have something that may help. It is a special gourd of medicinal waters. Use it to heal your
Dudes.
wounds.
The subtitles are good. They're quick, you know. You're not like sitting around waiting and shit. A gurned filled with a volatile restoring medicine. This is appropriate. So this is pretty much like the frickin' flask.
Gravely injured? Afterward?
After what?
Do you not remember that night?
I do not.
God, dude, the talking is so quick.
Talk about it later. Right now we must
I
discover
kind of like it.
Ashina Castle.
As you say.
There's a secret passage beneath the moat bridge that will take us out of the castle. Lord Ishin told me about it once. I ask you to find that secret passage. Once you find it, signal me with a reed whistle. You know, like you used to long ago. I will join you as soon as I hear it.
Okay. So the various things. Okay. See you next cycle. Okay, that's what it's. Okay. R. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Okay, that's what that sheet's for. Okay. Alright.
Wolf, do not push yourself too far. You must heal your wounds.
I want to freaking heal my sheet. What if I don't want to, huh? Do I have to put it on? Because, I mean, you just give me some sheet. Oh, you give me just freaking. Okay. Alright. Let me in, Chief. God, I cooked it. Oh, I knew that. Should probably do that. How do you equip it? Fuck it, we don't need that sheet. Image break and opponent's posture checking it is okay. When your posture is break, okay, death blow. Okay. Oh, that's kinda like what, like a finisher? Also, you should be exploring for sure. Also supposed to be rough. Okay. Is the main story linear? Like, will I know what the frick I'm supposed to do? Is there like she on the map to like let me know like this is where you need to go? Because I need some assistance up on this beach. Beach! God damn, this blood's sick. Yeah. Kind of like the combat. Alright. Okay, I'm already pressing Q though. Sometimes the attacks is now to break and punch. Okay, so deflect the moment the attack lands. Deflect. Okay. Do that. Okay, I'm pressing Q. I think I'm a fan already. I'm only a freaking couple minutes in. Okay, I know how to do that sheet. Hey, yeah. Oh, sheet. Okay, I'm pressing Q a lot. Oh. This game's gonna be fun. There's some map. There are different sounds depending on how good your deflect is. Also, if you time it perfectly, your posture bar doesn't go up. Okay, hold on. Posture bar, what the frick is that? Okay, I think I'm hearing the. Is that the little bar that's popping up on the bottom? When you block poorly, your posture bar goes up. Full posture bar equals no deflection anymore. Ah, okay. So I really have to. I have to get good at freaking dodging. Okay, so you said there's freaking no map or anything. Okay. I want to see how the freaking looting is. I want to practice more on that sheet. Ah, okay, I see it. And that gets to the. Oh, so when you get a death blow, you it just resets it. Okay. What was Q again? Because I feel like I might change it to Q. I'm already used to pressing Q on other rings, so I feel like it'd be more smarter. What the frick is Q? Fuck it, let's change it. Let's have this be at. And when this is the start, these enemies don't do it a lot, but later against bosses, it'll matter a lot more. Okay, okay. Only after attack signs, after deflecting counter slash. Okay. Ow! Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm getting used to this. Ooh, okay. Wait, what's the bar on top? Is that his health? Some powerful enemies require multiple death blows to be killed. Oh shit, the number of death blows required to kill an enemy is shown above the red circular marker. Above the red tally bar? What the fuck? Each death blow removes one marker? I tried dodging. You can sprint now as well this way? It should, yeah. Fuck, do I have to... Oh. I gotta do the whole thing over again? Alright. Beach. Beach. You should go up in the house where the child was. Okay, I want to get better at this whole slashing sheet. I mean, I guess it's pretty freaking easy. Also, there was... I can go up here? Oh, there's stairs here. Oh, is that all? Oh, dude, is that actually all the looting? It's just a big ass freaking. Oh, dude, okay. Is that how the looting is? Because I'ma love that sheet. It's not like a freaking guessing game. I mean, I guess Elden Ring did like the little white freaking thingamabobs. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Also, when you're picking an item, it will always give you the pop-up, even if you have 1,000 of them. Oh. It took me a second. What was I freaking talking about? So how do you, how do you put she on your quick thingamabob? Oh. Duh. I knew that. I have small brain. My bad. Fuck all these things. Ooh, okay. Okay, so is there any roll in this game? Or is there no roll? So it's not refill. If you use it, it's gone. Goes up pretty rough early on. Okay, okay. So I just need to get used to the icon of the main healing. Beats. Oh, these guys are fucking chumps. Okay, I forgot to lock on. If I block last second, that's probably good, right? Okay, I see those little dots it's talking about now. You can dash to this. Oh, okay, so that's like the... Ah, okay. Okay, I definitely see... Ah, shit! Oh, I missed my opportunity. Okay, I see the thing you're talking about now on the bottom. So I can be aggressive. Oh, and that's his on top, right? Ah, okay. Okay, so I can be aggressive, but I have to kind of like chill at the same time. Oh no, is that my shield? Wait, which one's mine? Wait, I'm pressing on a button. Okay, I'm getting used to it. Okay, I'm getting used to it. Beach. Beach. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, I was initially trying to back up, but okay, it works. Okay. That's somewhat of a roll, I guess, but most of the time you deflect. Okay. So you're pretty much going to be... Okay. Ideally, you always block last second. It also fills enemy posture a lot. Potion. Oh, okay, that's what that shit on top is? Okay, it's hard. Some enemies can be freaking nightmares. Okay. Because if enemies are tanky, you just have to know their moves. If you got this game, you can deflect like a god. Huh, okay. So I pretty much, I just gotta get good. That's the main sheet here. Okay, well, I mean, I need some freaking regen, so I might as well use that sheet. Oh, I already love the looting. Ash gripped into a hardened clump, throw at enemies to temporarily distract them. Oh, shit. Frick, it's not infinite? Boo. Okay, I've really got to figure out what the frick is optional and what's not, because I don't want to pull an Elder Ring and miss a ton of sheet. Yes, it's the opposite of Dark Souls. You don't really roll that much to avoid. So you just... Okay, you're pretty much just all up in their sheet. Okay. Okay. You just... sir? What? Thank you. Oh, you were looking up. I thought you were going to make it. I'm assuming you want me to go this way first, right? Yeah, okay, I was about to say.
You know that secret passage at the bottom of the moat, under the bridge? We just got orders to guard it. Security's getting tight.
That sounds really quiet. I'm pretty sure it is for you guys too. Dude, I like that eavesdropping thing. That's sick. Very quiet. Sheet. What the fuck is that, dude? What the fuck? I don't know why I load the volume. I think it was really fine. Not really? Like all of it, or just the... I feel like the combo was kind of... I mean, I guess it's just a lot on my end. But obviously, my shit freaking sounds all freaked up. Oh, really? Yeah. Run through again. Frick it, run 3, and then I'll just freaking lower my sheet. Alright, fuck it, run it. Run that sheet. Oh, I see what you were talking about. When it, okay, I understand what you're talking about when you said pop up. You mean that pop up when it shows like what exactly it does. You're capped at 60 FPS? Yes, sir. This appears to escape rope called the divine. Can't go up that. Frick, we'll run in here first. Hopefully I can get back up. Damn. Okay. Ha! Ah! Ah! Dude, that's you can do finishers on top or death blows. That's fucking sick. You can get past that cap, but I think it needs change something. If you don't play with it. Yeah, I'll figure that out next stream, I guess. I wasn't really expecting to play this game today. So I said I was gonna update my OBS, and then I was also gonna update or do the what's it called thing? What the frick am I doing, by the way? I was hoping to find some cool items, or something up here, but it doesn't really seem like I'm finding shit. Unless I'm just missing sheet. I guess time is the best time to figure out about frickin' what's it called? Do I have to go all the way around because I dropped down here? I'm pretty sure I do now, right? It's on the beach. Okay. Okay, this whole jumping off the wall thing is kind of freaking me up a little bit. Yeah, it's like places I don't think I can make, but I can. I freaking pressed the right. Thank you. Let's get. Wait, I could've. Oh, that's probably just the way to get back. Yeah, because I came up there. Okay. I'm learning. I'm pretty sure I'm backtracking, but fuck it, why not? I'm definitely backtracking. I don't think it's sheet up here. I don't know why I'm doing this. Yeah, maybe there's something else. I thought I was trying to be a good person and explorer, but I don't think there's shit else to do.
Wolf, you found it. Now let us leave this place.
Yes, my lord.
Combat's sick though.
To think that
I have a feeling it's gonna get hella hard though.
run from the fated bloodline is the only answer.
Like you figuring out all like the combos and shit. It's pretty hard.
Where shall we go once we're away from the castle? I suppose the first thing we should do is cross the Ashina border. Or perhaps we should hide somewhere. What do you think?
Whatever you desire,
Whatever I desire? That's the wolf I know.
my lord.
Oh, nothing. I was just reminiscing. Onward then.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm really digging the fast dialogue. It's freaking quick. There's no like pausing or shit. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's pausing at some points, but. This sucks fucking sick. So far, I'm freaking digging this shit.
The divine heir. Last we stood together was your uncle's funeral.
Lord Genichiro,
Wait, this is the beach.
You.
Leave this to me.
Is this the beach that killed my sheep? Chopped his freaking head off? Oh wait, no, that was someone else. Wait. Oh shoot. Okay, I'm already lost. Show your moves. Watch this sheet.
So the noble shinobi stands in our way.
Alright, bear with me when it comes to understanding all these people, because. Oh, that's because only two.
You face Genichiro Ashina.
Whew. Dude, having to like look at where their hands are at and where their. Okay, I think that icon means. I don't think I'm doing that well. Okay, I'm understanding a little bit. Okay. I think I died. The icon means you can't block it. Okay, so he was like going for like a charge. Okay.
Is that all the shinobi has to offer? The divine heir will be coming with me.
Is that supposed to die, by the way? Can I? Oh, is this part of the sheet? Was that supposed to? Sir, I still want to fight you. What? I don't even get that much time to hurt this beach. You can, but it's just different. These are armor even if you beat him. Oh, okay. Damn. Just in another way. I didn't even get a chance to find. You know what? I feel like I'm used to having like an icon pop up when I'm supposed to counter. That's the thing I need to get used to. It doesn't really help you when it comes to counting. You have to really just pay attention to what the frick the enemy's doing. This is freaking hard.
What is this?
I think I found out what the frickin' prospect thing is. Frick, what was my button? Tab?
Looks like death is not your fate. Just yet.
Several arms passed down the replica of the arm fitted with the radio sound modification. This is probably where the frickin' grapple hook comes in play, huh? While it bears a number of cuts, it is stained thick with blood and oil. It has been maintained. Frickin' sick. Okay.
What do you call yourself? Your eyes. The eyes of a wolf who has failed in his
This
duties.
game looks good.
Or so it seems to me.
That is not your concern.
Spoken like a true shinobi. I must carve the Buddha. You do what you will.
What the fuck does that mean?
Why am I here?
All I did was drag.
Oh, you should play an offhand mode? Oh, I'm guessing that's what the
Didn't
purple
even
sheet
know
is.
if I was dragging a corpse. Couldn't let you get eaten by a pack of wild dogs.
How long was I asleep?
Some time has passed since I found you.
I see.
However, your master
Dude,
yet lives.
I'm really digging this dialogue, bro.
Held prisoner in Ashina Castle. They will
It makes it
soon
harder
be
to grasp because they're talking so quick, but I like how it's not so
I'm
freaking
sure
slow.
You appreciate the value it has.
My left arm. What did you do to me?
That is what I call the shinobi prosthetic. A fitting fang for a one-armed wolf. Useless when it comes to carving Buddha, though.
I feel like it should have like a check mark on the stuff that I've already talked about.
It is
Kind of like how it
your
does for the eavesdrop.
replacement for your lost arm. Come to me if you find any shinobi tools.
Shinobi tools. I see.
So I just attached you to it.
This device.
You catch on quick. If you bring me shinobi tools, I'll find a way
That's
to
right.
fit them to the shinobi prosthetic. Then you'll come to appreciate its worth. I've said too much. Go now.
No, 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 no.
What did you mean when you said they'll make use of his bloodline?
I don't know much about him, except the dragon's heritage. There's a special kind of blood by that name, and that blood runs through your master's veins.
So the divine heir.
Someone's after him. Might be that the strange things happening to your body have something to do with that.
Oh.
You're quite the strange one, yet other peculiar visitors have come to this temple. There's one in the clearing to the right of the gate leading off the temple grounds. Two strangers in strange circumstances. You two might get along.
Okay. I need to change. Oh yeah. This. Did I confirm it? Did. Okay, so what are these about to restart game? Shit. Fuck it, let's just do it now. I'm assuming you're probably gonna be in like full reset, so I'm just gonna freaking full reset. Hopefully it's not loud as shit. Okay, it's taking a very long time. There we go. It's taking a very long time to stop. Alright. Audio warning, I'm not sure if it's gonna be loud again. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And it was oh. Alright. Did it turn back on? Fuck, where was it at? Fuck, where's the thing at? What the fuck? Oh, okay, I didn't. Okay, cool. It showed the HDR button on my sheet. I thought it meant,
You truly returned from the dead. The power of the dragon's blood. I never thought I'd see it with my own eyes.
Who are you?
My name is Emma. I am a doctor serving a certain master.
What master?
Forgive me, but for his safety, I cannot reveal his identity. However, my master gave explicit orders to assist you in any way I can. I'm not telling you to trust me. However, I must fulfill my master's orders. The gourd of medicinal water you possess, that was originally a creation of mine. I am a doctor, and I will assist you in that capacity.
fucking say less.
You made this gourd.
Yes, it was intended for Lord Kuro, but it seems he entrusted it to you. I'm sure you may have noticed, but the medicinal waters in this gourd spring forth on their own. Even after being emptied, you will find it full again after a short rest.
Yes. Is there a way to improve it?
Bring
Probably.
me gourd seeds.
Gourd seeds?
Gourd seeds,
Yes.
okay.
Medicinal waters flow from gourd seeds. Adding new seeds will increase the volume of these
So
medicinal
it's
waters.
exactly
If you
like.
find any,
Okay.
bring them to me.
All right.
Alright, think I have some. Never mind.
I'd like to make a request.
What is it?
Please show me your face.
What?
This white mark, is it a birthmark?
No.
Then That must mean it appears on those who have received the dragon's heritage. Or perhaps it's a symptom.
Are you done?
Yes, that will be all. I'm sorry. That was rather rude of me.
I mean, okay, are you gonna?
So,
Okay.
it's not a birthmark. Then
Is it worth exhausting dialogue like it is in Elden Ring?
appears on those who have received the dragon's heritage. Or perhaps it's a symptom.
Hey, what's up, Slasher? What's up, mate? Fun as Souls game.
I still don't understand the particulars, but it appears
Happy
as though
Halloween,
your
Nick.
body
Oh, shit.
is no
Oh yeah, happy Halloween, guys.
longer in the world. Come and see me if you notice
Upward
anything.
looking, gonna start streaming on. Hell yeah, what you playing, homie?
I still don't understand the
Hope you have a good day, homie. Hell yeah. There's a couple people that dressed up a little bit at work, which is kind of interesting. Light coin purse. The first roll is a small amount of sin that can be used to acquire the sin inside. So the sin is a purse. Okay, so sin I'm assuming is the freaking currency. Dude, I love the freaking looting, dude. It's so freaking easy to see. Oh. Resident Evil 4. Oh, shit. Originally, I was playing Bone Labs, but I started to get a little motion sickness, so I had to stop. So now we're switched over to this. I'm gonna tell you a thing that's very important whenever you die. Okay, well I guess that never happened. I'm just kidding. Shinobi can leave behind shadows of their past actions known as rumors. Rumors are left to discipline one's peers. Some of the masters of the waves. Open rumors mean no network connection is required to them. Oh, this is the multiplayer stuff. Okay, well, I don't have to worry with that. Yay! this is the campfires. Idols service checkpoints can be found throughout resting into a completely replenished. Okay, vitality restored. Yeah. Additionally, quick items and spirit and storage be added to their. Additionally, quick items and spirit emblems and storage be added to. Oh, okay. Some attractions resting will also revive defeated enemies. Okay, yep, just like what's it called? Okay. I don't know what the fuck half of this sheet is. Okay, unseated 83%, vitality 10%. Okay, I got 0 sheets. Okay, so you have to actually go and click that button to do it. Okay, interesting. Oh, whenever you die, I thought you meant that was when you were gonna tell me. You lose half your gold, and there's not really an easy way to get money early on. So whatever you have to use for gold, you should invest into it. Whatever it is, if you die a bunch, you'll get nothing. Okay. Worst case, you invest into those light purses. Wait. Worst case, you invest into those light purses or into a purse which, like a set amount of money, but just held in your inventory. Huh. Okay. So pretty much what you're saying is dying actually sucks. So it's like Dark Souls, but you don't really get a choice. You just lose it. You won't need gold for a lot of things. Don't run around with like 5k. Okay, so how much do I have right now? Did I get any? Oh, these are just okay. So wait, am I losing? I'm not losing these, right? These are just hold sheet. These are like the runes, right? You don't lose the purse. Okay, so these are like the runes. I can use these whenever I want. It's just okay. All right, I got you. I'm understanding. I already have it unlocked. Anywhere just dancing with the circular symbol. Oh my god. Oh, dude. Oh. Ooh, wow. That's nice. That's nice. Okay. I'm I gotta get used to this. Am I holding that shit or just freaking tapping? Oh, this is nice. Okay. You will love the grappling hook or hate it. So I thought it's kind of like just a set freaking thingamabob. Okay. Okay. See, now I feel like I'm missing out on sheet. Should I go back? There was a passageway to the right, and I think that's the person said that was important, right? Should I do that first? Because this is a checkpoint. I don't want to miss sheet. You definitely didn't want. Yeah, I don't want to miss sheet. That. Not gonna lie, dude. I was about to start swinging.
Never seen you before. Your name?
Dude.
Won't tell
What the frick
me.
is up with that?
You do have the look of a skilled shinobi. A shinobi. Or perhaps... Sir, please heed my humble request. Face me in battle.
Oh, frick. What the fuck?
Damn. Still alive.
I was about to say I just killed this man. He asked me to.
That swordsmanship. It was a
Okay.
If you have managed to kill me
Whenever you
with
learn
such
new
a
combat stuff, you can practice in this guy.
Some call
Okay.
it undying. Others infested. I can't die, so I just am. How about you?
Huh.
What brings you to a rundown temple like this?
Is it bothering you that I have my
Say, why don't you use me for some
camera
sort of
with the
practice?
subtitles are?
Might come in handy for whatever your mission is. A warm body that can't die might prove useful to you. I volunteer mine.
I volunteer mine. Sure, man. Why not?
Very well.
Right then. Let's go. They say swinging one sword is a cure for boredom. Have you noticed this temple?
You can put
attracts
your
those
cam
with
above your
nowhere
HD
else
bar.
to go? I certainly fit that description.
We're
And I suppose
floating.
That's why interesting things make their way into the offering box from time to time.
Okay, hold on.
Come back whenever.
To the frick up. Is there any more stuff like HUDs that go above my health bar? Because I'm gonna just put it like right underneath it or some shit. Oh my. Sorry for spinning. Oh god. Sorry. There's gonna be a little circles above your health bar. Okay, sorry for the spinning. Sorry. Alright, we're gonna run with this for now. And I'll change it whenever we get to it. Offering box. Items that become unavailable elsewhere end up in the offering box. Ooh. When the box is eliminated, it means items have found its way inside. Items may be obtained by inspecting the box and offering money. Ooh. So, is that okay? So, ooh, does that mean like every item in the game? Ooh. Okay, what does Z do again? Okay, I gotta get used to all these freaking controls. Hello? Okay. You didn't read it clearly? Wait, what do you mean? Why can't I press escape? Wait, what did I say? Some areas in this game change, and if you can't get specific items, like anymore that you missed, it will go into that box instead of feed pie. Oh. Oh yeah, I knew that. I like how I can't just run off. Can I? What are the chances I landed on that? Wow, I'm a freaking god. Do you guys drop? Never mind. Enemies drop loot such as items and money. Multiple enemies can be looted at once from a distance. Where items found in the world are different. The enemies to be approached. Press and hold the acquire loot. Press E near world item. Pick it up. Oh, dude, that's kind of freaking sick. So stuff like this, I have to press it, and then for. Oh, that's kind of sick. Okay. Oh, that's freaking lit. I like that. Piece of party that breaks the satisfying crack when thrown through enemies to draw their attention. Okay, so I have two things that draw attentions. I'm getting used to it. God, you really gotta pay attention, dude. Oh, dude, that is freaking sick. Oh, dude. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, low key, I don't like the grappling hook, but then again, I kind of do. I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like it should be oh, dude, that's so sick. I feel like it should be seamless. Hey, let me try some. Yeah, see, I have to stop for it. What the fuck do you have to stop for that shit? Maybe I'll get used to it. Dude. Dude, this is sick. I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to it. I wish it was more seamless. Did I miss anything? God, now I'm on edge, bro. I'm freaking trying to miss sheet. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh. Okay, that's kind of sick. Oh god. Oh god. What is this? Sugar candy made into temporary reduces vitality damage taken from physical attacks. Bite the candy and take the ungo stance to part in series. Okay. Oh. Man, you ain't shit. Get the fuck out of my game. Okay, hold on. Don't shoot me real quick. Let me just explore a little bit. Ah! Can I block that? Is that a freaking gun or is that a... This guy sucks. I can't even shoot me. Ow! You can freaking get your ass out of here. You can freaking headbutt? Oh, this is gonna be a fun ass game, dude. I can already just freaking tell. Humans usually always drop coins. Humans? Fighting freaking aliens and shit. I'm not gonna tell you, but you were looking straight at Adam when you asked if he missed something. Of course I freaking was looking at Adam on freaking sheet. Okay, so I need to get used to all these item names. Notice, what's it called? Okay, so pellets for freaking passive healing. Other sheets for other sheet. Okay. Can you open this? Now, the real question is, where the frick was I looking when I said that? That's the real question. Wait, have I been up here? Oh, yeah, I remember seeing this, actually. Duh. I literally remember seeing that shit. You guys didn't say anything. Oh, you can do it mid-air, too? Oh, that's kind of sick. Okay, maybe I do like it now. Okay, maybe I do like it a little bit. It's taking a while. I guess I probably can't do that. Okay. Okay, I'm kind of liking it now. I'm not gonna lie. Let's see later. Ugh. Oh shit! I was low on health.
Loyal wolf, take my blood and live again.
Oh, this is what you were talking about? Well, hell yeah, I want to revive. Wait, so how does that work? To stay down. Oh, you said it's a cooldown. To stay down, not to be knocked to the ground. Surely means that safety roll can be used to quickly recover. When posture broken or knocked down, space or shift to safety roll. Okay, will it? Okay. Okay, pay attention. Okay, see the dots above your HG part. Place your cam so it doesn't cut the dots. Okay, that's the dots is corresponding to what it's telling me right here. Divine Heart grants the ability to okay, so one charge is always restored by resting at okay. One charge is always okay. Killing enemies restores additional charges. Resurrection becomes unstable immediately after using it, but killing enemies will make it develop again. Okay, killing enemies. Okay. Okay, hold on. How? Dude, that's sick. Okay, I see the dots now. We're gonna put that sheet right there. Oh, dude, that little death thing is in a perfect spot. Okay, that's okay. Shard involves. Okay. Oh, okay, we got these little things. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna take a walk. You have now. You can now instantly travel between cities that have already consumed with traveling maxes via this kind of travel menu. Okay. I still don't know what the frick any of this stuff is. Okay, so I have to be at one of these things to travel. You can't. Okay. Important places. Oh, you have to go into it and do it. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see if these wolves respawn. But it wouldn't because I'm right here. Okay, so I have two dots fully, right? One's full, one's not full. If I kill enemies, the wolf respawn. If I kill this homie, is that gonna go up a little bit? Oh, okay, I did see it go up a little bit. Okay. What the frick? Goodness. Okay. Okay, I understand. Fuck's the point of this? Everything? Okay. Oh boy. Best in awareness can be fit into the press set to become a recurring circuit. It is one of these palm sense and surprising number of shurikens and fit into the wheel. Ooh, if an example of his signature. Ooh. What? Ooh, can be used. Cannot be used, but again, it's just they can be fit into. Okay, I already know that. Yeah, okay, I gotta go find the guy. Ooh. Should I go bring it to him now? Wait, so okay, so here's another thing I like. I like how when I if I only want to travel, I don't have to freaking rest. So that's okay. That's sick. I don't have to. It doesn't force you to rest before traveling. That's freaking sick. Okay. I like this, dude. This is sick. Okay, so you're the person you give the freaking seeds to for the flask. I'm gonna call it a flask.
I found one.
A shinobi tool?
Okay, I'm getting used to this. Okay, this is pretty easy so far.
Prosthetic arm was a fang, but by fitting
Enemies can
shinobi
still hit you if you
tools
don't
to
rest.
your arm,
Oh, okay.
you'll be able to change the form of that fang. Thick shields, break them into splinters. Swift foes, bring them down from afar. Fitting
So-
more devices means more ways to.
I'm assuming I'm gonna get a lot of
Then
freaking
some
tools,
needs killing.
and that's why it says I can cycle through them.
To kill them. That's all there is to it.
Seems you
There's a
know
bit.
this
Okay, so I kind of have to like
prosthetic
strategize what I want. This is fucking sick.
The more I speak of bloodshed, the more demonic my sculptures will become. Give it ear. I'll fit that tool for you.
Oh, it's a whole freaking menu for it. Regular tools found in the world can be specially adapted to the tool of. Okay, it says regular. That means there's like special ones. Oh, dude, it gives you like a little thing. That's freaking sick. That's freaking sick.
Yes, right. That kind.
They're
faced
unique.
Buddha
Shurikens are cool.
over there.
They one-shot
Don't
dogs,
do
for example.
anything funny with it.
This is okay. So escape, open a menu tab, use it, and C is to switch. Okay. Tab is to use it. Okay. Oh god.
You see the kind-faced Buddha there? That isn't one of mine.
I don't think I
It
catched
was
this last time.
carved by the true sculptor. When a man must confront what is inside of him, it can probably be of help.
Confront what is inside him.
Anger, sadness, or perhaps old memories of times long gone. That kind of thing.
There's equipment hub says there are 3 slots available to equip and switch out tools. On the equipment section, it's in the controls can be viewed through F. Okay. Spirit emblem cost. The frick is that at? All right. Loaded. So emblems are required to activate tools. They are consumed each time these ability use. Spirit emblems can be obtained from defeating enemies in the world and purchased from the idols. If you pass near them, you will find their. If you pass near them, you'll find your way to. Okay. Oh, that's those things. Okay. Spirit emblems are really important. So make sure you remember how it works. Every tool needs spirit emblems to be used. Okay, so I don't want to just go willy-nilly freaking using sheet, right? Can you pick up the sheet that I lost? Can I pick it up now? Okay, so okay. Oh, I forgot I can just teleport. Do my okay, so now I know what these are. Okay. Oh. Okay, so it costs 10 per. I feel like I shouldn't use money on this yet. I feel like I should wait. You don't want to use super unless you kind of want to think about yeah. Some tools can make boss fights a lot easier. Okay, well I still gotta figure out what the frick I want to buy, so I'm not buying shit right now. I like the fast travel. It's freaking quick. This game's sick. They get more expensive later. If you don't know where to invest monies, spirit emblems are always good. Okay. Is there like a bank system I can like safely keep freaking money in? Oh, you're actually not friendly. Damn. Okay, this is empty. Okay. I'm freaking checking like every freaking corner for stuff right now, dude. I'm trying to freaking get everything right now. This is sick. This looting is fun, dude. I like this a lot. Wait, I literally forgot what I just freaking asked you. That's awkward. Some enemies are unguardable, prefer attack signal with a danger symbol. When these occur, watch carefully and look to perform a special response. Right click as thrust lands, deflect. Space before sweep lands, jump. For grabs, jumps, or sprint out of their range, shift, step, dodge. Okay. Beach. God damn, homie. Wait, okay, I gotta learn the icons. Ow. Okay, I definitely gotta use this in combat. See. Oh, see. I'm not paying attention to my health. Okay. I need to get used to this combat. Like when it comes to actual hard enemies. Oh, shit, I forgot. Back beats. Wait, I don't know. I need to figure out what the frick is that icon. Oh, wait, it's there for jumping. Duh. At least preheat off of 4 of them to the idler and will increase the maximum vitality and posture. Currently, the wolf has 1 position. Oh, dude, it tells you every time you get one? That's sick. Oh, I got a seat too? Hell yeah. God, this is freaking sick. Bosses. You can back sub some monsters before they see you if you find a way for it. Doesn't work for all of them now. Okay. So pretty much I did a good thing. Dude, this is fucking sick. I really like how the loot is very, very easy to tell. It's not like faint where I'm like, is that loot? Versus, okay, who the fuck is Lady fucking Butterfly? I'm like, I keep fucking talking about this much. Like, who the fuck is this bitch? Forgot soon. Oh shit, it's almost 8 o'clock already. Haha, kind of a dumb question here. Is there fall damage?
This battle,
Oh, I can't.
think
Okay.
it can be won. I fear we may not prevail. What? We'll be just fine. Look, Ishin may be sick, but he's still going strong. Genichiro is a terror with the bow. And of course, we have Gyobu the demon. Ah, Gyobu, of course. Good point. As long as he is with us, no man could ever breach.
Sorry, this is quiet. How the frick does this work again? How do you use this? R? What was that thing I had? What the the frick does this do? Okay, I'm probably not gonna use that. What was the other thing I had? This thing. I'm gonna get this. That's the wrong button. Okay, I got it. Ah, shit. Well then. All right. So I need to maybe like pay attention a little more to, you know, like when I'm getting attacked. Oh, I forgot I have money too. Ha. Oh boy. Experience towards the next skill point and currently see everything's lost. Okay, so maybe I need to pay attention a little more and not just be dumb.